At Zilla, we are dedicated to the innovation of caging, lighting, and equipment solutions that provide proper husbandry for your pet's long and happy life. To see our entire catalog, visit zillarules.com.
Hey, what's up, Rattlers? So I am in Brisbane, Australia right now, and I am about to go check out the Brisbane Reptile Expo. This is the first expo of its kind here in Brisbane, but because of Queensland's really strict laws when it comes to reptiles, you can't buy anything here, you can't sell a reptile here, and even if you did, you can't transport a reptile without the proper permit. So come with me and let's go check out the very unique Brisbane Reptile Expo. I'm Dāv Kaufman and I am obsessed with reptiles, and I have been since I was 9 years old. 25 years later, I made a trilogy of award-winning movies about them. Now my life is all about touring the world in search of them in wild places and checking out some of the most awesome breeding facilities and reptile expos while I'm at it. So come with me and join my reptile adventures. So if you're in the reptile world, you know that Australia has some of the strictest laws when it comes to keeping reptiles, but here in Queensland, it's a whole nother level of regulation. To display a snake, you need a permit. To buy a snake, you need a permit. To sell a snake, you need a permit. Then if you want to transport that snake from one place to another, you need yet another permit. It's enough to make your head just... But because of all this is a different kind of expo. People aren't coming here necessarily to buy reptiles. They've come here just to see reptiles for the sake of loving reptiles, but they've also come here to learn about them. So it's an expo really, but it's not a sale. It's all about education. And to change the laws and the rules that exist here in Queensland, education is where it all begins. Alright guys, look who I just ran into. Mr. Peter Birch from Criticam.
G'day, g'day, g'day.
Alright, so this is your neck of the woods.
Yep.
What do you, Australia,
yeah.
Brisbane. So what is your thoughts on Australia's regulations as opposed to the regulations that we have in the United States, which are almost none?
Almost non-existent, that's right, for you guys.
Right.
So basically here, each state has their own sets of rules to make it even more confusing and intricate in its own individual way. So, Brisbane, you can show animals, but you can't sell animals at an expo. So how would that affect an American expo is one
It would
question.
shut them down.
Yeah, so basically it's all about advertisement, and even there with the advertisement, you can't advertise a business name, you can't hand out business cards.
Wait a minute. So even under the regulations, you can't advertise that you have a reptile breeding business.
That's right.
You can't hand out cards.
No.
What is the point to that?
Good question, I don't know. But it's the only thing that these guys can do, so they've got to try and promote the expo, try and get more people in to attend, which obviously puts more pressure on the authorities so that these guys can then start to sell.
Well, you know what Australia needs? Is a US ARC here in Australia.
It definitely does.
It wouldn't be US ARC though, it would be AU ARC.
AU ARC.
AU ARC, really? Alright, let's fund that thing.
Make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
So New South Wales, for instance, 10 years ago was like this. We couldn't advertise animals.
Right, I remember that.
Couldn't exhibit, you couldn't sell, blah, blah, blah. Now, New South Wales has 5 different expo events where you can sell, advertise, but you can only advertise your name and a license number, which you guys don't have.
But there needs to be some sort of balance.
There does.
There does.
There does.
There does. All right.
Definitely.
So there you go. Right now, it just kind of sucks to be an Australian herper. Hopefully it won't always be like that.
That's right.
So Joe Ball and his amazing blue tongues are here. You guys may remember the episode that I shot when I was here last year with Joe Ball. I'm gonna go check out his stuff. Check out this display behind me here. It's a totally blank display. They can't even advertise their name. So this is the part that's really confusing. You can't buy the actual reptile here, but at places like this you can buy absolutely everything you need for your pet reptile. Alright, so this is Scott Owen, and he is the mastermind behind this whole show. So what does it take to put on a show like this in Queensland with so many regulations?
Lots of talks with the government, but at the same time trying to, what would you call it, be the mediator between passionate reptile keepers and the government, to make sure that I'm doing what's right to them, but also what's right to the government. It's a big balancing act, basically. And in a lot of, and actually they do compromise in one way, where they, the rules actually state that you can't sell, you can't show animals for a, what's the word, promotional sense. So basically, breeders who have their, snakes there, they are not allowed to wear shirts, they're not allowed to have business cards, they're not allowed to say they're a breeder. They've purely got to have the animal there for the act of having the animal there. And that came from the idea that they didn't want the general public to think, hey, I know that snake's in the bush, I'll go steal that and make $8 grand or something. But these rules were made in the 90s, and so it's very old. And it's just not the case anymore, because one of the animals is a woma. It's, I'm assuming you guys know, but it's got like a orangey kind of head and bands down the sides. It's a really nice looking animal. And so at the time, they're probably worth 10 grand, and so someone could easily go out and steal one. But now, because breeders have bred them so much and sold them, apparently they're like $50 each. So that's not gonna happen, because no one's gonna go, yes, I'll spend $2,000 to go out bush to steal a $50 animal. But because the rules are disconnected with the times, basically the rules just don't make sense anymore, because they're behind the times, and we're looking to try and make the rules up to date. So yeah.
What's it going to take to get those rules up to date so that reptile keepers here in Queensland can actually be free to be reptile keepers?
Okay, so what we're doing is we're making the show as big as it can to make our benchmark, right? So the bigger I launch with, the bigger I can be for the next one. So we're generating essentially a platform by which we can engage with the public to bring more people on to accept that reptiles are actually okay. So if the general public opinion gets better, the government can see that we're really doing good things for reptiles. And then at the same time, we're trying to mediate between their concerns, the public's perception, and breeders and keepers, you know, love of their animals, basically.
Gotcha.
And essentially, our position is to be that mediator, to create the perfect kind of environment for that to you know, grow as such.
Sure, sure. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'm glad I was here. You certainly have your work cut out for you for the future of reptile keeping here in Queensland. So Rattlers, that's what a Reptile Expo looks like in a place like this where herpetoculture is in its infancy. You can't buy any reptiles, you can't sell any reptiles, you can't advertise that you're a reptile company, you can't transport reptiles, and you can't display reptiles without the proper permits. Not really sure how hard those permits are to get, but a lot of people here don't have them, and therefore they weren't able to really participate in what a Reptile Expo is like anywhere else in the world. So comment below and share a story about the regulations in your area and how those may have impeded on your freedoms to keep reptiles and to sell reptiles and to display reptiles. Comment below and share those stories. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I'm going to be in Australia for a couple more days and I'm going to go tour some really amazing facilities. So until those adventures, love the planet, feed your reptile obsession, and rattle on.